or 9, and the JV is 15 and under. Spotlight is that everyone can participate, either an athlete or even a person with disability, boys and girls. Anybody can do this. So we're proud that the students are normally that don't do things in school, that don't participate in sports, choir, those types of things, can do this, and they do, and they become part of the team, and they get new friends with this program. We have a lot of great examples of that. I could tell you stories from the past few years, but we ain't gonna go there. This team is developed into, we compete against other schools, not by enrollment, it's by how many students are enrolled in the program. So we compete against teams like Boscoville and West Salem, Jamesville. So they compete at a very high level because we do have some of the highest recruit kids in the state. So far we've had 4 conference champions, 7 that finished in the top 500 in the state. We've had, in 2001 we were conference champions, and we've also won the Star Prairie Fish and Game Shoot 2 times. We ended up first, and the second time we ended up in second. That has been 3 years that shoot has come, so we've competed very well those years we've shot there. In addition, all of our students are allowed to shoot at the state competition in their divisions, so they shoot against kids at their own level. Since 2016, we've performed very well. Our novice group has finished 2nd, 3rd finishing in the state. Our JV teams have finished 2nd and 3rd in the state. Our varsity has finished as high as 3rd, and we've finished in the top 10 every year. And we've also had 3 state individuals winners, all girls. Our program is about 40% girls, which is a big number, and it's very nice. So, but when adding to that, with the large number of states and teams that have been going on, the U.S. Clay League started a national shoot, and that started in 2018, which we've been fortunate enough to qualify every year. There's only 240 teams that qualify for that shoot every year, and there's 1,800 individuals that qualify for that shoot. We've been participating every year with that. Our best finish as a team has been 25th. And last year, Wyatt Randolph finished 7th out of 1,800 kids. That's an amazing accomplishment, people. It's really amazing to shoot that well and be on the podium there. We've had a lot. You guys don't realize what kind of gym you have here. We'd like you to know that. I think we got one of the best programs in the state. We get calls every year asking how we're doing, how we do it. We've been in the Milwaukee Journal. We got an article about us in the Milwaukee Journal. And we have Wisconsin coaches coming and watching us all the time. So we do have an awesome program. We got great coaching, and we got a lot of good kids. Without their parents, this wouldn't be going on. They got a lot of good parents. So, but where we're coming to you guys today, we got things like this sitting around that we have nowhere to put it. We would like to see if you guys can find room for us in your trophy cases, even if we have to build one and you can put it up somewhere. We'd like to be in the commons where everybody can see it, if that's possible. We would like to also have the plaque that we're having made of the individual accomplishments, the conference champions, state results, national results. But that's what we're really after, if we can get that, if you guys can find room for us to do that, because it's a big deal, because this program is doing a lot of nice things, and I think the community I know is behind it, because we got people wanting to help all the time. I would like, if you have kids that are in that 6th grade or even up and they haven't tried it, they need to come and try it, because they'll have a great time. We always have probably the 2nd highest group of kids go to state. It would be awesome if you guys could make a day and come down and watch it, because it's only one day. And you'd be awful proud of these kids. They sure could use some recognition. So I'll leave that up to you, but we would really like something to happen there. If you could let us know,
okay.
It'd be awesome. Talk about it, and let us know, and we'd greatly appreciate it. So I got 2 gentlemen here that I would like to have a few minutes. Hunter Pickard and Wyatt Randall. I'd like them to let you know what this program is meant to them. And then after they get done talking, if you have questions, I'll take questions. Go ahead. I'll make you start.
All right, so I've been a part of this team since I was in 6th grade, so the earliest we can qualify and shoot. It's meant a lot to me. I got to grow up shooting with a lot of great people like Will Lowerson and my sister and like Logan Reindahl. But so a lot of those kids that I really didn't feel like I fit in with when I was younger, like I kind of got to build a different bond with them. And that's what I like so much about this team is no matter your gender, age, your skill level, any of it, we're all like a family together, and it's a great way. It doesn't matter how athletic you are, it doesn't matter if you have disabilities, anything. Anyone can shoot and anyone can be as good as they want to be. So it's a really great program.
Hello, I'm Wyatt Reindahl. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to accept us and recognize us as a sport. Like Hunter, we both joined at the same time in 6th grade, the earliest you can be. And my favorite part about it was that going into middle school, we could compete with the seniors at the time. Both me and him were top guns in middle school. And it's really cool that everyone's kind of on an even playing field at the time. And the freshman can be friends with the senior, and you guys can be battling, and it's just so much fun. The team aspect is so good. Everyone's there to watch everyone, and it's amazing what we have done at state and nationals as a team. It's just amazing how far this team has come, and I just love it. Love the sport. I wish I had more than 4 years, more than 1 year to go. That's another great thing about it is you can do it after high school too. It doesn't have to end, because as long as you can shoot, you can do it. So I love the sport, and that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Well, can you beat your dad? That's the question.
Every day, sometimes.
Let's tell the truth, get that on record.
The only thing I would have to change is that my coach can pronounce my last name.
I do it just to irritate you. I would like to add one more thing. We do have 2 kids, well, I shouldn't call them kids, they're adults now, that are coaches now, that are alumni. So Will Larson and Kara Pickard are coaches also at this time. They're giving back, and we actually have a couple other students that shot with our program. They're coaching at other high schools right now. So they're giving back, which is a big thing to me. So, is there any questions?
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
congrats to all of you guys. Yeah. Amazing.
Well, and that's, like you said, you got great things going on, and it's because of, people willing, like yourself and all the other adults and parents who are working with the kids and got it going and are sustaining it. And like I say, once you build that, now you've got alumni coming back to work with it, and I think that's been the key, and that's what's made it so successful, is the adults who've been working with the program all along.
Oh, absolutely.
My oldest son was part of the program, and one thing I really enjoyed was that it was a family thing. That I don't remember if the rules are that the parents have to be there or not, but it was
that they come in, so we usually have quite a few people watching, so.
You get together once a week, right?
We shoot once a week. I wish we could shoot more. If we could shoot more, that'd be great, but we shoot once a week, and it's usually on Sundays. This year we have 2 shoots besides our regular season lined up. We will shoot against River Falls on April 1st at their facilities in River Falls. And we will shoot at Stark Prairie Fishing Game again. That will be in Amory on a Saturday. And it's usually Osceola, Amory, Clayton. There's usually about 8 schools there that compete. Yeah, St. Croix Central. So Prairie Farm will be there this year. They just started the program this year. So there, there'll be about 8 to 10 schools there on that day for that shoot. But we'll shoot against them, and then we'll shoot against River Falls on a challenge thing that they've come to us and wanted to shoot against us. They shoot in a different league. It's a scholarship or scholastic league. So they just they've seen us shoot and they want to see if they can contain or beat us, or they can beat us. So it'd be fun.
It'd be fun.
So thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate it, and please let us know what we can do if we can get something going because these don't need to be sitting around collecting dust. People should see it.
Okay. Sounds
All right.
fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. You're all welcome to stay, or if you don't want to stay for the...
We have a meeting tonight with the kids in the cafeteria, so we're gonna leave you.
Oh, come on, stay.
Thanks for coming, you guys.
This is like our best attendance.
We'll make Dave take the chair.
Get Joe to join track. I've been trying to fit all time.
Only sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, Wyatt,
For me.
Sue can stay in here. It's the 15 ones now.
It's incredible. I remember the school board meeting when they were saying, let's do this.
Yeah, and they're really good. There's no doubt about it.
It really is fun to watch.
Yeah. So, all right. Next, new business, approval of resignations.
Okay, so there are 3 resignation documents in there, whether it's an email or a letter. Denise Severson, elementary paraprofessional, is resigning her position here. Christy Johnson, or you might know her more as Christy Solberg, she recently got married last year. Also elementary para, accepted another non-school position outside of education. So, and then Joe O'Connor, junior senior high night custodian, also is resigning to accept another position. So those are the 3.
I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resignations. Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve the resignations. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes with many thanks to those 3 individuals. Next, the approval of hires.
Okay, so we had an opening earlier, late fall, early December for a high school special education teacher, and we posted that position, and we're very excited to hire Janine Smetana as our high school special education teacher beginning in the 2023-24 school year. So we have a long-term sub to finish out the school year, and then Janine applied and interviewed and is excited to come back to Clear Lake for the next school year, starting next year. So that's one. And then we also had para positions posted for the elementary school, and so we offered positions to Amber Shoney and Chantel Thompson. So those are the 3 hires to approve.
I move to approve the 3 hires. Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve the 3 new hires. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, discussion of inclement weather makeup.
Okay, so if you go back into your packet a little ways, there is document in there.
It's on the back.
Yeah, it's on the back side of the last resignation letter, I guess. So it says inclement weather considerations. And I wasn't able to have this completed document in the packet that I sent out on Friday because I was still calculating some things and figuring some things out. And amazingly, like, the way it's been going lately, didn't have a snow day over the weekend. Because it seems like that. It seems like every other way. So anyway, so as you can see on there, it lists out the DPI requirements for instructional hours. You can see they differ between kindergarten, which is actually pretty small, 1st through 6th grade at 1,050 hours, 7th through 12th grade at 1,137 hours. And then right below that, it shows what we normally, if we had our full calendar of 176 days, what kind of hours. The 1st through 6th graders would be 1,089, 7th through 12th grade, 1,162.4 hours. So you can see that we build into the schedule extra instructional hours beyond the DPI minimum. So those DPI requirements, that's the absolute minimum that you have to do. Most schools definitely put in much more than the minimum. So we've had 4 snow days thus far as of today. So we've had December 14th and 15th. We had 2 days in a row. It's pretty unusual. It doesn't happen real often. And then we had December 22nd, the day before holiday break. And we come back for 1 day, and then we had Wednesday, January 4th, as this was a snow day as well. With those 4 days, and those were full days, so calculated what if we project out the rest of the school year, what our instructional hours would be. The elementary would have 1,064.8, so actually would still be above the bare minimum of what we need to do. So we're still okay for elementary. High school has more required hours, so the high school actually, you can see, falls a little bit short of where we're at right now. So as far as what we've done in the past, so I can go back through the history from when I first started here, and it's changed a little bit over time, and I'm not going to confuse things by talking through how it used to be years ago. But our most recent, way we've done things, our past practice is that the first 2 snow days were not made up, and then the 3rd and 4th snow days were typically made up, and then after that it was board discretion and find ways to get creative to make sure we're meeting the minimums. So if you think back over the last 10 years, we've had multiple years where we've had to do some different creative things. The other thing that I looked at is we designated in our school calendar when it was approved last year, and I didn't think to put these in the packet anyway, but I thought it might be nice to have it to refer to as we're sitting here. But the school calendar for this year, so it's in there. When we approved it, we said that the inclement weather makeup dates would be June 7th and 8th. So we're scheduled to get out on Tuesday, June 6th. It's a half day for students, a full day for staff. And then, so the first day, the days that are, if we're going to have makeup days, it's designated as Wednesday, June 7th and Thursday, June 8th as the days that we said we would use. So those are kind of the parameters, are kind of all the things to look at and consider. So any questions so far about before we get into the kind of the options, about any of those facts or any of those basic?
When does summer school start? Summer school
starts, good question, June 13th. So 12th is in-service day for staff on Monday, and then the 13th is for students. Yep.
Is remote learning an option?
In what way? Like
for a snow day, if we had more, or is that?
If we have more,
considered
it's something we could consider. It's got its challenges, I guess I was kind of recently asked to comment on this. So, when we had, we go back the last few years, we did some remote learning and distance learning and so on, and I think we realized it was pretty challenging. It was not easy for families and for students, and not easy on the teaching end either. One of the things to consider is if we do remote learning, and this going back even pre-pandemic, there were some districts that were saying we're going to do virtual remote learning when they had one-to-one devices. The DPI came out with some guidance back then. Again, this was pre-pandemic, stating that if you're going to count those as instructional hours, some things you got to think about are what's the access. Do all the kids have a device at home? what kind of internet do they have? Do they have internet, digital access at home when they're there? And then another consideration is students with special needs. Are they going to have their IEP met? So are they going to have accommodations to be able to learn? Those are just some off the top of my head. I don't know principals if you can think of some of the other, but I know those were some considerations that the DPI brought up to say, hey, if you're going to do this, these are the things you better make sure you're addressing. Well, then we went through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all experienced those challenges, those three that I gave and more. So it's not something that we've at this point done. If the board wants us to consider that, or if wants us to pursue that, we could look into it. Those would be some of the concerns.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. It's not on the spot because it's definitely something
And I
to
was
talk
gonna bring it
about.
up for the 7th
Yeah.
through 12th graders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking
maybe,
more
yeah.
junior,
Senior
I
high
mean, the
makes
older
more
age
sense.
group is
Yeah.
where I would think we might need to
Their
start
hours are
exploring
lower
it with
there.
so much winter left.
Yeah. Part of the consideration too is then, what percentage of kids are attending and engaged. And then also, there's that piece between, you've got then certain staff who then would be required to teach on those days and certain staff who wouldn't be. So there's some, there's a lot to unpack there with doing that. But so I think with careful planning, distance learning, we've done it, when during the pandemic, it's harder to pull off without pre-planning, so many times, there are days, there's been a few days where we're like, okay, there's a good chance we're having a snow day tomorrow. You could, encourage all the kids to bring their stuff home and probably get most of them to do it.
It would count as hours though.
We could,
Okay.
yeah. If we're going to count it as hours though, if you're going to meet the DPI criteria, you got to make sure you're kind of, how are you addressing all those things?
Right.
So,
Okay.
so it's
Would it be
In a lot of those
possible just to say at the beginning of the year, for gym class, everything, to come up with one day of online learning just in case we need it?
yeah.
For upper, 7th through 12th.
Yeah, but wouldn't it depend when you need it? Because I could come up with a lesson plan, but it might not be
Well, I mean-
applicable in January if the
Right.
date was
Right,
in
I mean, at
March.
least start thinking about it, so we have one day option of doing that.
Right.
Seems like a lot of work for just one day, though, in my opinion.
I mean, we don't have to make up the first two, we're really safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, here, we've had 4 days and we're only off an hour.
yeah.
But if we're
But-
down to making up 3 snow days, I'd much rather have a e-learning day.
Yeah. And I
Or-
think
or-
Because
adding-
parents have made plans, those kids are gonna miss those makeup days anyways, some of them.
Yeah.
I mean, people wait till school's done and then they plan stuff.
Or add minutes, haven't we added minutes?
we've
to the
added
school
minutes
day?
before. Yep, we've added
Had a
minutes
day or
before.
two.
Yep. And it's one of those things that, every 5 years we have a year like this.
Right.
Crazy year where we have
Right.
4 days, 5 days. And then, like last year we had 1 snow day,
Right.
or the year before I think we had 1 or 2. So I agree with what somebody said, it's how much planning investment do you put in for the,
Right.
and we didn't have any at all year,
Right.
so there's that. It's,
I can
yeah,
understand that.
it's not, and you can poke holes in virtual learning and say that there's some questions about how valid it is, but you can also, question the validity of adding 3 minutes to every
Right.
day and how much that adds to instruction. There's no perfect solution.
What is the most extreme, how many
We
days?
could get by with just finishing the June day as a full day versus half day, if we had nothing else at this point.
We could, that would meet the minimum. Yep, we could. Yeah.
It's gonna be talked about again, I'm guessing.
Well, and that's what I would say, that, with anything presented or anything we talk about tonight or kind of agree to tonight, I would say that, write it in pencil because it's only January 9th.
they're predicting another storm next week. This will.
Just a little thing, but. I
So
mean-
go through what you got there.
I guess, and again, I guess I kind of want to follow what we said we were going to do, which is on the calendar, we said, the first weather makeup days would be the 7th and 8th, so I feel like we should kind of hold to that for now. If we have more, then I think we get more creative too. So one thing we could do is we could add 2 days for students and staff, so that Wednesday and Thursday, the 7th and 8th. We could just bump the school year, the end of the school year back 2 days for everybody. So then the 6th and the 7th would become full days of school, and that last day of school, the 8th, would be a half day for kids and a full day for teachers. That's one option. Just adding 2 days to the calendar. Another option I think that I would propose that still kind of fits with our past practice but would meet our minutes. We could add 1 student day. So you bump the student end back 1 day. So their last day would be June 7th instead of the 6th, and it would be a half day for kids, full days for staff still, and then add 1 staff day on the 8th. So you're adding two staff days. So the last day on the 8th would be an in-service day with no kids here, but teachers would be here, and that would meet our minimum requirements from the DPI, and it would also kind of follow past practice for our teacher contracts, which has been the first 2 days we don't make up, the next 2 days we do make up. So that would,
I like it.
It's
Number 2, till something changes.
I like number 2 with the potential of making that a full day if we had to versus going a whole nother day, and or have the 7th through 12th think about an e-learning day, because we'd still be safe on elementary hours.
Even if we miss one more, we'd be all right with that one though, right?
Yeah.
Well, not quite.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of. And I think, this one, it kind of fits our past practice. It fits what we said we were going to do. And then it gives us still that flexibility, like Nettie's saying, if we have one more day, we could just look at adding. Then we look at probably, we're trying to meet bare minimum of minutes for the kids. And, we could go to a half day. We could look at a lot of different things. One idea that somebody said, what about taking an in-service day during the school year and turning that into a student contact day? I wouldn't recommend that. We talked about it as an admin team. Those in-service days, we actually have full plans. We've got consultants coming in from CISA. Those days are hard to schedule. There's important stuff getting done on those days with the teachers here and the kids not here. February 17th is a little more flexible day, but that's so close that you've got families who have made plans for a 3-day weekend that I think a month out it's not fair to say, oh, hey, we're coming to school that day. I don't feel comfortable with that. And again, it's not what we said we were going to do.
Right.
We said we were going to do it on the 7th and 8th.
So let's go with that.
Yeah.
So
for now,
we're okay with.
So at this point, we're adding Wednesday, June 7th as a half day.
Half day for kids, full day for adults, and then the 8th would be a full day for staff for the
You guys
staff.
cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sound okay? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Just wanted to make sure, kind of run it by what we're thinking.
All right, next, determination of space availability for open enrollment for 23-24.
Okay, so there's another handout in the packet there, the next page. And I also I included, and again, I was still getting some data from Friday that first short page wasn't in the packet, but I've also just got our open enrollment board policy in there too. That's just for reference. That doesn't necessarily apply tonight. So basically, what every year a school board and a school district has to at a board meeting make a determination of what is our space availability for open enrollment, and we need to do it in January because in February is when the open enrollment period begins. So you have to state, hey, up front, here's how many spaces we have open. Do it now. We can't wait till it opens and then and then say here's how many spaces we have. So there's 2 categories. You can do it by grade level and by program. And so we want to encourage open enrollment into our district. We do not have, so as it says here, with consideration by grade level, with the consideration for the availability of space in the schools, programs, classes, and grades within the district, it has been determined the district does not need to restrict open enrollment applications, will not set space limits by grade level for non-resident open enrollment applicants. So welcome that. Now, by program, so if we look at our special education program, so what we do is we look at our projected caseloads for next year, so we roll everybody forward to what teacher they'd be working with in 23-24, and then there's also weight factoring that you apply. So you look at the numbers of students, and you also look at the services that those students receive. Some students, have an IEP but receive very few services. Some students have an IEP and receive really extensive services and resources. So you kind of apply a weight factor to all those students, and you do it by program or by grade band, by teacher basically. So by doing that, we determined that there would not be open enrollment seats available for students with special education in the grade band 4K through 2, because we have one teacher who services 4K through 2, and then also in grades 3 and 4, because we have another teacher who services primarily 3rd and 4th grade. So what that simply means is if we have an open enrollment applicant, they would be denied if they had an IEP that was other than speech only. So anyway, it just says, we determine this using the caseload factoring guide. Projections are based on students next year, with the students enrolled in the program without any new resident students entering into the program. So what it says is non-resident open enrollment applicants needing service by this program will be denied based on our full capacity. So we're saying that we're full in JK through 2 and 3-4.
So do open enrollment applicants have to apply every single year, or are they accepted and then that just continues to roll over until they decide not to open enroll?
Yeah, it once they're accepted, it rolls forward.
Okay.
So and it does say you can make you make exception for currently enrolled students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I guess I do need an approval of the determination. So we're saying that we have no limitations by grade level, but by program we do have limitations for special education students in grades 4K through 2 and grades 3-4 for non-resident applicants.
I move to approve the determinant of spatial availability for open enrollment 23-24 school year. By grade level, we are open. By special program, we are open except for grades 4K through 12 and grades 3rd and 4th grade.
4K through 2.
4K through 2,
Yep.
sorry, yep.
Yep.
I second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve the open enrollment for 23-24 form. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Review of the 21-22 financial audit.
Okay, so I'd mentioned previously, we could have invited the auditors to come here, and they're certainly willing to come and do that if we wanted to. So I have a packet for you. So if you look in front or around your stuff, I got these audit documents. So we received these in the mail back in December. So the audit process is required by statute, it's required by the DPI, so every school district gets audited every year. Baker Tilly has been our auditing firm for a number of years. And the crew that comes up, they're based out of Eau Claire, right? Yeah. So they come in July. I think this year was the second or third week in July. Third week in July is about when they usually come. So this is an audit of the 2021-22 fiscal year that ended on June 30th of 22. So there's 3 booklets here. So the one on top is reporting and insights. And so the biggest things that pop up every year are typical. So like on page 6, it talks about internal control matters, and so this is something that's been in our audit every year that I've ever been aware of since I've been in Clear Lake. But internal controls, and it refers to segregation of duties because of the fact that we have a small district office, a small business office. We have 3 employees. So we have Mrs. Arby and Mrs. Karnick and myself, or actually during this audit year, it'd be Mrs. Arby and Karnick and then Mr. Ernst. So there's only 3 employees, and so the segregation of duties, they can find ways that we would be improved by having additional staff or having our own accountant or something like that. So that's been discussed in years past, not so much by this board, but years, 5-6 years ago, it was discussed quite extensively about what that means, and we had the auditors come and discuss, and so they did share, it's basically commonplace, and it's normal for an organization our size to have those noted, those deficiencies. But then also they note throughout the documents that, there's no concerns, there's no fraud, no nothing that's a concern beyond normal auditing processes. So, let's see. That was one thing to highlight. And Mrs. Karnick, feel free to chime in if there's anything.
No fraud, that's good.
Still here.
So if you go through all these documents and they talk about Baker Tilly's conclusions, and that the conclusions are all favorable, in terms of whatever the topic that they bring up, or whatever they identified as an issue. Let's see. The other thing to note, maybe just so you're aware of it, so in the report on federal and state awards, that's the other kind of skinnier book. So if you guys recall, the last 2 years we've had to have what's called a single audit, which is the audit of, it's triggered when we have enough federal money, if we reach a certain threshold of federal dollars that we receive. Lori, what's the number?
750,000.
Well, what's the threshold number? Is it?
750,000.
Okay. Or the minimum that triggers a single audit. It's more like 50,000 or something, isn't it? Or
750.
oh, it's 7. Really? I thought it was because we don't.
giving you the same number.
Okay, sorry. All right. I was thinking the wrong thing. I was thinking it was under 100,000, but
No, it's 750.
so. We've never had this before. We had ESSER funds because of all the ESSER funds over this 5-year period.
And
it's
the
a lot of
extra
money.
food service money you got.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
That's true too. Yeah. So in the past, we get Title I money is basically our federal money, and that's a small amount. So anyway, one thing that was discussed is, I'm gonna look through it here. Page toward the end.
Material weakness?
Just point out the material. Yeah, so on page 10, 11, 12, the material weaknesses that they found, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And a lot of this had to do with our transportation reports from 2021 and 21-22. And so one of the issues was they identify the internal controls, but then also the way that when we have to do a transportation report every year to the DPI, and in that report we put in the number of kids who ride the bus. We attach mileage to every student, the mileage from their home to the school that they attend, and then it all goes into this big calculation, and then we get funding from the state from that. And we know who rides the bus and who doesn't ride the bus, so we have, we're accurate on that. And in the past, Mrs. Johnson, we can tell you, the bus drivers can tell you, and Mrs. Johnson can tell you the kids that ever ride the bus, the kids that have never ridden the bus once, whatever. But we didn't have enough, basically proper documentation to prove that. So we know it, our bus drivers know, and so on. But so we just needed to put in some procedures or some paperwork to basically take attendance on the bus. So what we're doing is we're taking attendance on the buses periodically to prove, has this student ridden the bus at any one time in the last month or two, and put a check mark by their name. So we do have absolute paper proof saying, yes, this student has ridden the bus at least one time. So, because that's all that's required. So our numbers were accurate. It was just a matter of we didn't have that documentation. And it's for 2 years in a row because it wasn't identified until the end of 21, so it wasn't identified till spring of 22 or 21, 20, so we didn't fix it. We're fixing it going forward now in 22, 23. So that was one material weakness, and another one was the way that the last 2 years, the way that Bus 1 is a special needs bus, and any student who rides Bus 1 has an IEP, and there's only a couple kids that ride the bus typically, and some of those kids were counted in the regular student transportation report and not separated from it, and so that was also an error, and the difference in aid amounted to a couple $100 of what it would matter. So it was not a significant financial issue at all. It was just a matter of that we got to make sure that we're not counting those kids as part of the regular transportation count. So those were some things that were identified, and so then, when the auditors were here, we talked about what measures are we doing to make sure that that's not on there again. So Other questions or things that you've seen?
Who's accountable for that count, that bus count?
Who did the bus count would be the superintendent. Yep. And then, like, when I go, now that I do it, I go forward and I get all the data is provided to me from the bus, like transportation secretary, so Mrs. Mickelson now, and Mrs. Roble helps with that quite a bit too. So, yep, good question. Other questions or?
Oh, you good.
All right. And I want to just compliment
Absolutely.
our office staff for the amazing job that they do. Lori, Joy, it's that's, and I also want to share how Baker Tilly compliments our office staff when they come up here. They they have a good experience when they're here. We take good care of them and give them what they need, and they're very always impressed with that we have everything ready for them and make it a good experience for them too. So compliments to Mrs. Karnick.
Good job.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Next, the review of the upcoming school board election and drawing of ballot order.
Okay. So the timelines have been ongoing here. November, December, we had the open period if someone wanted to declare to run for school board, or if any of our current members wanted to choose not to, any of the incumbents choose not to run. So we had Mr. Grosskreutz has chosen not to run again this year for the school board. So that was Skip's choice. So I won't need to thank him for his service. He's going to be on the board here for a long time yet. So, but Skip chose not to run again. And then Greg Frenchu has chosen to. He submitted papers to run again for school board as an incumbent. And then we did have Corey Munson submit papers back in December to run for school board as well. So Corey's here tonight, watching. So we do have two seats available, and we do have Mr. Frenchu and Mr. Munson who have declared as candidates. So we do need to draw for ballot order. So I did write their names down on a piece of paper.
I got a hat.
And we got somebody with a hat.
Oh, wow.
We'll literally draw them out of a hat. And then I think the clerk should draw, since you're the one who...
Put your,
I'm not
You're the
put your
official
hands in
drawer
that
on
hat.
So this will be the first person on the ballot.
No, it's going to be Greg.
All right. So that
Sorry,
means
Corey.
Corey will be second. Okay. So make sure we note that down.
Really spread, yeah.
So it'll be Greg 1, Corey 2. Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, next, superintendent notes.
Okay. As early beforehand, when Nettie was here doing the vouchers, I was telling her I noted, it felt like it was a scramble between the last meeting to this meeting, and it's been short weeks. I realized we only had, counting today, we've only had 9 days of school since our last school board meeting, of course, with Christmas break thrown in there, and then we had the last board meeting, then we had 2 snow days that week, and then the following week was the short week before holiday break, and we had snow day to shorten it even more. We also had the elementary Christmas program, that's kind of a day all in itself. It's hard. And then we come back, have 1 day, and then have another snow day. So I feel like that's been a big focus, not a big focus, but definitely a source of space to spend some energy here lately. So, but with that, I just want to thank the people involved with all the snow. Tom Osmond-Root, he's up at 4:30 or earlier out on the road as well. He and I are in communication. Tom does an amazing job with that. All our bus drivers and the conditions that they've been driving in. There's been some days that we haven't canceled, or that we, have had some, snowy weather that they're driving home in, or that they're coming in the morning. And I thank our bus drivers. They do an amazing job and work so hard to keep our students safe. And we tell them, take your time. Don't worry about being late to school. Breakfast can wait. The kids will get here. Be careful. Go slow. And they're doing a great job. Our custodians, all the snow removal. Ask Pat Lilly if he's been seeing snowbanks in his dreams lately when he shuts his eyes. And definitely there's been a lot of snow removal going on. Also, Lori does a lot in the mornings to get things, once the decision's made, to get things onto the media, onto the television and stuff like that. And Carrie Blanchard and Jason Sargent in the athletic department, a lot of rescheduling of things, and there's a lot of communication that goes in with other schools when they end up, when we cancel an event or cancel games and practices and so on. So, and our whole admin team, with the input, and our food service staff, they usually come in on the snow days as well, make sure things are okay in the kitchen and plan for the next day. So we don't totally shut down. A lot of shutting down, but don't totally shut down on a snow day. So, but also I want to say too, with me being new in my role, I appreciate all the communication that goes on among our area superintendents. They do a great job, really helpful, communicating with each other the night before, the morning of, hey, what are you seeing in your district? What's going on? What are your thoughts? Hey, we're going to cancel. What are you guys doing? It's just a nice communication and collaboration that goes on in the area. Same thing with the athletic directors, working together with canceling games when it has to happen. So, otherwise, our holiday music programs after our last meeting were great. We unfortunately postponed our holiday staff get together on December 22nd, so we're going to try to reschedule something for the staff. I think it's important that we still do that. Our wrestling team had a very successful Northern Badger tourney. Sports seasons are continuing on, basketball, girls and boys. Again, appreciate the efforts of the winter coaches. They've had to deal with a lot, canceled practices, canceled events, and so on. It's not easy for them, too, to try to keep their teams on track and so on. Otherwise, looking ahead, so I'll be at the State Education Convention next week with Matt. We'll be going down there. Looking forward to that. It's my first time going, so looking forward to it. And then end of the quarter is January 19th. We've got a Teacher in Service Day on the 20th. Coming up already in February, junior kindergarten screening happens on the 9th and 10th of February. Start looking in February we get into wrestling, conference and regionals and sectionals, and then if we get into March Madness after that. We're hosting, if you've seen flyers around, we're hosting a fundraising event, a pro wrestling event at Clear Lake High School on Saturday, February 4th. And that is something we're looking forward to. So they run it, they do it all themselves. Mr. Sargent has been the connecting point with them. But it's a fundraiser, it'll support our athletic department, but the people who come in and do it, they set everything up, they run everything.
My cousin from Vegas is going to be there, one of them.
Okay. Nice. You got a local connection there. So that'll be fun. Saturday night. See ya. And then 8th grade parent registration night, February 6th, and then also important, the Empty Bowls fundraiser. So that supports our weekend backpack program. So that is February 7th. It's a Tuesday night. There's a basketball doubleheader going on that night against Unity. So it's generally a good crowd for something like that. So that's a huge event. We haven't had one in a couple of years with the pandemic and so on, but that's a great thing, and Mrs. Waterman is leading that again. And so she's been working on it since the start of the school year, having bowl making events. So that's coming up. So that's all I got.
Outstanding. All right, next we have contemplated closed session. In accordance to WSS 19.851F concerning financial, medical, social, and personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons.
Thanks for coming, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Which, if discussed in public, would likely have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred in such histories or data involved in such problems or investigations, and or considering employment, compensation, or performance data of any public employee over which government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. We will be discussing a review of student conduct and discussion of 22-23 district administrator evaluation. I will pull the board. Nettie?
Yes.
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 Mrs. Kopernick? And Skip, myself, yes. Can we be in closed session now?
We're closed.